Shabbat Shalom. This past week, I traveled along with probably about 50 of you all and 200 Minnesotans to Washington, D.C. We stood in solidarity with Israel and called on the world to help bring home 240 hostages still in Gaza. And we pled with neighbors and leaders to take up the fight against anti-Semitism. It was like nothing I've ever experienced before being there. And I really needed it. It was good for my heart. It was good for my soul. I will say I wasn't sure I would even go. A week ago or 2 weeks ago, when the trip from Minneapolis was announced, I was not immediately convinced. I was worried, trying to do this cost versus benefit calculation. I wasn't sure if anyone would show up, and if they did, I didn't know if anyone would listen. Well, people showed up. Nearly 300,000 Jews, Zionists, and allies in person, and I heard 100,000 watching on the live stream as well. And people listened. I've read in local and international media covering our gathering, our march. I think most importantly, Israel saw us, saw that we continue to stand with them, to fight with them, to advocate for them. When I got home Tuesday night, I woke up Ilana to tell her, I'm not sure what I was worried about. Of course, going to DC was the right thing to do. I've been thinking about that specifically, about why it was so hard to decide. When the announcement came out about the plane going from Minneapolis to DC and the invitation to sign up to commit to a seat on it, I felt paralyzed. It's a feeling I've become familiar with over the last month and a half. For the last 42 days since October 7th, I've felt often like I don't know what to do. Should I be posting more on social media? Should I give myself a break from social media? Should I argue with a friend about the merits of a ceasefire? Or should I ignore friends, remove them, block them on media and from my life? Should I reaffirm my commitment to a safe homeland for the Jews, or should I reaffirm my belief in the need for an autonomous Palestinian state? Should I be celebrating life, or should I be mourning death? Should I be scrolling through the news to keep up to date, or should I put my phone away? Should I be advocating, fighting, engaging, or should I withdraw, breathe, and rest? Now, these are all things, every one of those is something I have done and told many of you, suggested to many of you that you do as well throughout the last month. And there's tension. Maybe you feel it, but I certainly realize there's tension because it's a lot of different responses, a lot of possible responses, pulling in a lot of different directions, because the truth is, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I see myself as a rabbi who says, advocate when you can, engage when you're able, when you have the capacity, and know that it's okay if that's not in every moment. There's value in standing up and fighting, and there's value in resting, in praying, in sitting one out, in meditating. For the last 42 days, I've felt like I don't know which moment calls for what. Like I have to choose to be a Zionist rabbi or a self-care rabbi. Like faced with the tension between these different ways, these different possibilities of responding to the world, I'm not really sure what my role is or what my identity is. I'm asking myself, who am I and why am I here? What is my role in this moment? In facing this internal struggle, these questions of what am I doing and how should I respond, I found some comfort in the Torah reading, in the Parsha this week. Because it appears the questions of purpose and identity are not new and not unique to me. In the Parsha, Rivka eventually becomes pregnant and her children fight within her. Veitrotzitzu habanim b'kirbah. Her sons, yet to be named Yaakov and Esav, struggled against each other in the womb. One eventually grows into a hunter and warrior, an Ish Sadeh, a man of the outdoors. The other, Ish Tam, a mild-mannered man who enjoyed being around his cattle. pitted against each other from the beginning, fighting in the womb. How does Rivka respond? The children struggled in her womb, and she said, if this is going to be the case, why do I exist? Vatomer im ken lama ze anochi. And she went to pray to God. Vatelech lidrosh et Hashem. Lama ze anochi. Why am I? What am I doing here? Faced with this battle with two opposing forces within her, Rivka questions her very existence. Im ken, if so, if this is what life is, what am I doing? Rabbi Art Green points out that whereas it is God in the last number of weeks who calls out to Adam, to Noah, to Avraham, Rivka is the first God seeker in the Torah. It is she who initiates the conversation with God. Vatelech lidrosh et Hashem. She goes out and seeks and prays to God. She starts the conversation with God as opposed to the other way around. We too have faced an internal struggle, and we, all Rivka's children, have been forced to ask, Lama ze anochi? Why am I? What am I doing? Why do I exist in this moment? Going to Washington, D.C. was important and meaningful to me for many reasons. It was an opportunity to spend time with our community here at Bethel and in town and get to know a number of people in a different way. I reconnected with friends, classmate teachers from USY, from our Nativ year, were there, didn't plan it, we just were all there. And it was a chance to learn a bit about this country I've lived in for almost 7 years. The National Mall is not like any other mall I've seen anywhere. That was a surprise. But mostly going to DC was important for me because I got proof that Am Yisrael Chai. We've been saying it, I've said it my whole life, and all the more so in the last month, but now I feel I know what it means. The people of Israel live. The people of Israel are alive. Am Yisrael chooses life. Am Yisrael cares about innocent life, about Jewish life, about Palestinian life, about Israeli life, about the ability to live. This is the reminder I needed. For over a month, it's felt like the world is against us, and like I haven't known even how to respond, how to put a response together. I've felt pulled in different directions, unable to choose one. Now, as we know from the Parsha, Rivka does end up choosing a side. In her internal struggle, we learn that she does in fact favor one. Isaac loved Esav, but Rebekah loves Jacob. Vayehav Yitzchak et Esav, v'Rivka ohevet et Yaakov. This is where we diverge from Rivka, and where we note that our experience is not exactly the same as hers. We don't need to pick just one identity or just one response. It's okay if we examine our internal struggle and say, there are merits to both. There are merits to all of these options. There is space for all the possible responses. Since coming back from DC, I'm less worried about hitting my quota of morons to respond to on Instagram. I'm no longer judging my worth or my contributions by how many times I engage with or choose to ignore policy debates. Traveling to DC this week, participating with 300,000 people in the March for Israel, brought me answers. Lama ze anochi, why am I? What am I doing? Why do I exist in this moment? I exist to speak up for those who don't have a voice of their own. I exist to support the Jewish homeland, as well as Jewish life in this land. And I exist to show students, children, the next generations, but in fact, all generations and all Jews everywhere, that they are not alone, that we are not alone. Rabbi Maya Zinko writes, if I could answer Rivka when she cried out, I would take her in my arms. I would rock her as a child, a sister, a friend, a mother. I would tell her that I don't know exactly what you're feeling. I would tell her that it's okay to be afraid, angry, and sad. And I offer us this same blessing. It's been hard since October 7th. with challenging narratives in the media and just as difficult interactions in our own personal lives. I don't know exactly what you're feeling. It's okay to be afraid, angry, and sad as we face this struggle within ourselves with diverging, with struggles between our values, our possible responses, and this question of how to act and what is my role. It's okay to be inconsistent with how we respond to difficult people and difficult comments. When we ask ourselves, Lama ze anochi, why are we here? What is our role in this moment? I hope we don't judge ourselves by how many Facebook arguments we get into. Instead, let us remember our capacity to choose life, to advocate for those whose voices are pushed down or ignored, to reaffirm the importance of safety for Jews living in Israel, in the US, and all people around the world. This is how we merit the safe, peaceful, just world we are trying so hard to build. And as we wait for that day, as Rabbi Zinko concludes, we'll pray together with everything we have. Shabbat Shalom.